Hello, good morning, viewers. Welcome back to the AFEMA TV channel. It's your boy Jay Ezo, the presenter. If this is the first time, please click the red for subscribe button and also click the bell notification icon so that you will be the first to be notified every time we upload out a new video. How you are doing today? Today I'm doing a little bit presentation about the blacks in India. You will never believe that there are black people that lives in India that are actually Indian citizens. About 500 years ago, the Portuguese went into Africa and kidnapped the blacks in East Africa, the Ethiopia, the Somalia, the Eritrea, the Ugandas, and used them for slavery. You all hold on one second. I'm going to attach the presentation, the documentary historical moment, to this video so you all can actually believe. When you actually see them, you actually know they are true Africans. I never believe, I never imagined until I came to see it, and I felt I should use it as part of my presentation today. So you all hold on one second. Hey, ladies and gentlemen. So like I was saying before, you all know what happened about 500 years ago, and some black are still paying the consequence. It's not because they really wanted. They have no choice at that moment. They have no choice. 500 years ago, the Portuguese went to Africa in numbers, East Africa, and precisely, they kidnapped the blacks, the Somalia, the Eritrea, the Ugandans, the Tanzanians, the Eritreans. Okay? They took them for slavery. In the modern world today, it's called kidnapping, because when you took people to ransom with arms, bows and arrows and guns, and the people were defenseless, they cannot defend themselves. In the modern world today, it's called kidnap. But back then, it's called slavery. So they took them to slavery and used them to serve the kings and the queens and the kings of Indians. And after the end of the slavery, they were dumped in the desert in India and in the island. Okay? So some of them have been Indian now for 8th generation. They actually knew. You all can see some of them say, I'm an African, we're Africans, we want to go to Africa, but unfortunately, we do not have any siblings or know any route how we can get back there. So Indian is the place they found themselves, where they were dumped in the island, in the desert, and that is where they've been living. Like you all know, as black people, we have stigma, we have people discriminating. It's still happening in the 21st century, believe it or not. Okay? In India, they are living in India, they are considered as a 4th or 5th class citizen in India because they are not truly Indian identity. They are Africans. Okay? Unfortunately, circumstances brought them to be Indian community, Indian society, so they are Indian. But 8 generations of the blacks from Africa, from East Africa, now living in India. And that is the only place they know as their own country. So you all can see how black were taken everywhere. Blacks were being scattered everywhere in the world. And for those in America, okay, that were privileged, again, it's a privilege without a choice. That they were taken away, the forefathers were taken away. It was not a wish. Today, some of them are migrating back to Africa because they truly want to go trace their root, to know that they're Africans. Black is beautiful. Our forefathers were not strong enough. They were not talented enough. I remember what Kanye West said last year or 2 years ago. Kanye West said, the reason why slavery happened to black people was, it was a choice. And that choice was due to our forefathers, our ancestry, our forefathers. They were not talented enough. Okay, it's still happening today in blacks. If you want to deal with a fellow black person, you get a black person to support you, and a black man will assist you in any shape or form to deal with his own fellow black person. It's still happening within the black community. Hatred, tribes, discrimination, ethnic background. And that is where the colonists have caused into us. Because the colonists separated us with the boundaries that we are not going to be getting along. Because if you're not getting along, how are you going to think about positivity? How are you going to think about intellectual things to do? So they caused that division in between us so that we cannot get along. Look at the whole war happening in Africa today, in Congo, in Uganda. It happens in Uganda during the Indian War, and then in Sudanese. Wherever there's wealth in Africa, there's no peace on that land. There's always conflict, division within one ethnic tribe fighting another ethnic tribe. It's not because they caused it, but it's all political motivated. And believe me, it all traced to the Westerners. They are the ones sponsoring either one group or the other group to fight against the other group. Because like I said, where people are fighting, families are divided, there will never be an understanding of unity for them to think about the next level for positive thing to do. All they're thinking is bow and arrow, how to kill themselves, because that is what the colonists left for us. Bows, arrows, ammunition, bombs, how to kill ourselves, and we keep killing ourselves as the black people. Because when we keep killing ourselves, defending your territorial integrity where they claim to be, separation, division, we're not going to think about how to build Africa. Africa is supposed to be one state, United States of Africa, with one governor and representative in each country. But no, the colonists, this is how they divided us. This is how they split Africa. We are broken apart. This is what the colonists led for us. So like I said, during the slavery, it was called the slavery. In the modern world today, it's called kidnapping. Because when you take people to hostage without their own conscience, with bows and arrows and guns and ammunitions, okay? 400 years ago, it was called slavery. But in the modern world today, it's called kidnapping. And you all know in kidnapping, there are consequences to kidnapping. So unfortunately, some of these black living in India find themselves there, not because they wanted to, not because it's their wish, because that is what the colonists, Portuguese, for God's sake, went into Africa, East Africa, caused division, and took our people to hostage. Used them for slavery. Used them for slaves to serve the king and the queens and prince of different countries, and then somewhere, unfortunately, dumping Indian. So they are living in India today as Africans. They still hold their true identity as Africans, but living in India. So you hold on while I'm going to attach this historical documentary presentation. You hold on 1 second, and I hope you're going to enjoy this.
Africa, and you have there for past 400 years.
Past 400 years. And these are the 8th generation of the blacks in India.
Prince and kings were there, no? They have brought us from there.
The elder in the family is translating in Indian, and while the girl, she's actually translating it back in English.
From Congo over here to keep the for security. They used to tell us to take care, like they were having medals and everything. So they tell us to take care. And for the security, right?
Okay.
We used to take
This, they have been here from 700 years before, and it is like generation to generation is going on. So this is 8th generation.
They are the 8th generation of the blacks that were taken from Africa 500 years ago.
The Asiatic Maya. They're part of the 20,000 cities, an ethnic group of African descent who live in Gujarat, Western India. Though far removed from their ancestral lands, the cities have cherished their culture. Now it's a source of income for them.
कहीं होटल होता है, पहले हमने 1500 से स्टार्ट किया, तो इसमें से रोज का 2-3 सीजन होता है तो 6 प्रोग्राम रहता है, तो उसमें 1 आवर का खेल रहता है।
Imran is a Sidi, a descendant of the Bantu people from southeast Africa. He believes his ancestors originally came from Uganda. Now he lives in a small village called Jambor with his mother and grandmother. Originally came from Uganda.
These are true Africans.
Now he lives in a small
You all
village
can never
called
believe
Jambor with his
that he's
mother
an
and
Indian.
grandmother.
He's an African.
So, Africans from Ethiopia, Eritrea, and
Africans
Somalia
from Ethiopia,
settled in
Eritrea,
Indian
and Somalia,
subcontinent as
Uganda.
merchants, while others were brought as slaves. The
They were being
Sitti's say
kidnapped
they were an
by the
elite
Portuguese
group of slaves
for
serving
slavery.
the ruling class only.
To serve the ruling class of the queens and the
Because
prince
of
and the
their
kings of
loyalty and
India.
military skills, they were
This is a wedding ceremony between a bride and a groom. You all can actually see them. They look more like Ethiopia, Somalia, Eritrea. They are actually from the East Africa. Some of them know that. They keep saying we're Africans. We're Africans. We want to go back to Africa. But unfortunately, we have no trace. Because 500 years ago, after the end of the slavery, they were dumped in the island, in the desert, in India. And that is where they know as a home, as a country. You all can see them. Black is beautiful. These are true Africans that you all can never believe that actually they are Indians. You all can see them. That is the groom. These are true Africans. These are Ethiopians and Somalias. You all can see. These are Eritreans. You all can see them. They still kept them culture. This is how it's done exactly back in Africa during bride and groom wedding ceremony. This is how it's done exactly. So I'm still very happy in one way that they actually brought the African identity, irrespective of the challenges and where they found themselves. They still remember the African identity. You all can hear some of them say, I'm an African, I want to go back to Africa, but I do not know any siblings or any person that I'm going to meet back home. They are true Africans. And that is the bride. These are our true Africans, our brothers from the east of the Africa. You all can see them. They are true Africans. True Africans' identity in them. True Africans. True Africans. Hey, hello people, how you doing? I hope you all enjoyed our presentation. That is the history of the black people. A lot of people know the history, but they don't actually know what the black people actually went through. A lot of black people. You know, you all can't believe Portuguese. What Portugal did in East Africa, like I said, if it's now, it's going to be called as kidnapping. But they ended up calling it slavery. So it was slavery 500 years ago. Black people were taken from their own land with arms and bows and ammunitions. They couldn't defend themselves. They were defenseless. They were taken all over, used as a slave. And then at the end of the slavery, they dumped them in the island by the Indian Ocean. And some of them went inside the desert and the island and they made it a home. And they've been there for 500 years. Some of them now are the 8th generation, the 9th generation. And you all can hear some of them saying, I think my family are from Congo. Some are from Uganda, some from Somalia, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Tanzania. So those are the East Africans. They are true Africans. You all can actually see them. They still carry the identity of Africa in them, irrespective of how long or that generation cycle in Indian. You know, I never truly believed that we're actually Indian, like black people that are Indians. I just think maybe people just go to India to school there as black people. Never knew until I came across this historical documentary, and I felt it's something that I have to share out for just a little bit to back up my presentation and for just educational purpose. Black people has gone through a lot of trauma, you know, which I understand. I can see the reason why some in the United States are upset. But again, it's not our fault. It's not our generational fault. It is the fault of our old ancestors, our leaders, our forefathers. They didn't know what to do, you know. But anyway, it is what I said. It is what it is. This is just my own self-opinion. I might not be the best. I might not have the best opinion. But you all know who this is. It's your boy Jay Ezo, the presenter of the Afema TV channel here in Canada. If this is the first time you've seen the Afema TV, please help your boy click the subscribe button and also turn on your bell notification so that you will be notified every time I upload out a new video. And I hope you all enjoyed this presentation. Have a good one. Peace out. Remain blessed. One Africa, United African Nation is what we're striving for.